Welcome to Books Arena, where we explore the wisdom hidden in the world's most powerful books. Today, we take a magical journey through The Alchemist, a story that has touched the hearts of millions across the world, written by Brazilian author Paulo Coelho. First published in 1988, The Alchemist is more than just a novel. It's a spiritual guide disguised as a simple tale, the story of a shepherd boy named Santiago who dreams of a treasure hidden far away in the Egyptian pyramids. But as we quickly learn, this story isn't really about gold or treasure at all. It's about destiny. About listening to your heart. About trusting the universe, even when the path seems unclear. It's about discovering your personal legend, a phrase Coelho uses to describe the unique purpose each of us is meant to fulfill. Through deserts and dreams, omens, and alchemy, Santiago's journey becomes a mirror for our own lives. Because deep down, we all carry dreams. But how many of us actually chase them? How many of us ignore the signs, stay comfortable, and silence that quiet voice within? That's where The Alchemist speaks to something universal, something eternal. It reminds us that the journey matters just as much as the destination, and that when we truly want something, the entire universe conspires to help us achieve it. This summary will unfold in 7 parts, each exploring a different stage of Santiago's quest. From the green pastures of Spain to the vast silence of the desert, we'll follow his story and uncover the timeless lessons Coelho has hidden in every step. Whether you're seeking inspiration, meaning, or simply a good story well told, this journey is for you. So find a quiet space. Take a deep breath. And come along, as we begin The Alchemist, the story of following your dreams, and discovering who you truly are along the way. Part 1, Santiago and the Call to Adventure. Our story begins in the rolling hills of Andalusia, Spain, where we meet a young shepherd named Santiago. He's just a boy, with a worn jacket, a book in his bag, and a flock of sheep at his side. He sleeps under the stars and wanders with his animals from village to village, savoring the freedom of the open road and the simplicity of his life. But Santiago isn't an ordinary shepherd. He's curious, restless, dreaming of more. For several nights, he's had the same strange dream. A child appears and tells him to seek treasure near the Egyptian pyramids. The dream ends before Santiago can find the treasure, leaving him with a haunting sense of mystery. Confused but intrigued, Santiago visits a gypsy woman in a nearby town. She listens carefully, then tells him he must go to Egypt. That the treasure is real. That he will find it. Santiago is skeptical. Why should he believe in dreams? And yet, something inside him stirs. Later that day, he meets a mysterious old man in the town square. The man introduces himself as Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He seems to know everything about Santiago, even details the boy never shared. Melchizedek speaks of something Santiago has never heard before, his personal legend. According to the king, a personal legend is a person's true purpose in life. It's the thing you are meant to do, the dream placed in your heart since childhood. Everyone, when they are young, the king says, knows what their personal legend is. But as time passes, a mysterious force tries to convince them that it will be impossible to realize it. These forces are fear, doubt, routine, and the comfort of the known. Melchizedek warns that most people give up on their dreams. They trade purpose for security. But those who pursue their personal legend, he says, experience real joy, the kind that comes from fulfilling your destiny. The boy listens, torn between the life he knows and the treasure that might await. Before leaving, the king gives Santiago 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, which he says will help the boy read omens when he's uncertain. And so, with nothing but a dream, a few coins, and a heart full of hope, Santiago sells his sheep and sets out across the sea to Africa. The first step on his journey is not filled with magic or glory. Instead, Santiago arrives in the unfamiliar, chaotic streets of Tangier, Morocco, a land where he doesn't speak the language and knows no one. And within hours, he's robbed. Everything he had, his money, his confidence, even his belief in the journey, is stolen in an instant. Santiago is crushed. Alone. A stranger in a strange land. But here, Coelho plants the first major lesson of the book. The path to your dream is never easy. It begins with risk, sacrifice, and uncertainty. Dreams are not given, they must be earned. And yet, Santiago doesn't turn back. He doesn't curse the universe. Instead, he remembers something the old king told him: when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Santiago decides he will not give up. Not yet. He looks around, observes, adapts, and starts over. This first part of Santiago's journey mirrors the stage we all face when we decide to chase something bigger than ourselves. It's the leap of faith. The leaving behind. The moment of crossing the threshold. It's scary. And sometimes, we fall immediately. But Coelho wants us to know, that too is part of the path. The universe tests us. It asks, how badly do you really want this? For Santiago, the dream isn't just about gold anymore. It's about becoming the person who dares to follow a calling, no matter how far it takes him from home. In The Alchemist, this stage is rich with symbolism. The sheep represent comfort and routine, the safe life many settle for. The dream represents the unknown calling, the whisper we often ignore. Melchizedek represents divine guidance, a reminder that help appears when we commit. And the robbery? It's life's first test. A wake-up call. A chance to choose again. As Santiago stands alone in the foreign marketplace, he begins to understand something profound. Dreams come with a price. And still, he chooses to continue. The treasure is still far away. But something has already changed. He is no longer just a shepherd. He is a dreamer on a quest. And that, Coelho reminds us, is where every great journey begins. Part 2, Leaving Comfort Behind. After being robbed in the marketplace of Tangier, Santiago feels crushed. The treasure he came to find seems more distant than ever. He's in a foreign land with no money, no friends, and no way back home. For a moment, he almost convinces himself that his dream was foolish. That maybe he should return to being a shepherd in Spain, that safe, predictable life he once had. But something inside him shifts. He remembers the old king's words about omens, about personal legends, about how the universe helps those who are truly determined. He reminds himself, I can always go back to being a shepherd. I already know how to do that. But if I give up now, I'll never know what could have been. And so Santiago chooses to stay. He wanders into a crystal shop, simply hoping to earn a few coins to survive. The shop owner, an older man with tired eyes and a fragile faith in life, reluctantly agrees to let Santiago clean the dusty glass in the shop's display windows. Soon after, a miracle happens. Customers begin to return. Business improves. The old man is stunned not just at the money, but at the energy Santiago brings. And over the next few weeks, Santiago becomes more than an employee. He brings ideas, passion, and a vision for something better. He proposes putting tea in crystal glasses to attract more people. He helps reorganize the shop. And slowly, the place begins to thrive. Through this period, Santiago learns an important truth: even when your dream feels far away, every honest effort matters. Every job, every moment, every lesson has meaning, especially if it brings you closer to your purpose. But the crystal merchant teaches him another lesson too, a warning. The merchant confesses that he, too, once had a dream, to make a pilgrimage to Mecca. But he never pursued it. Not because he couldn't, but because he feared that achieving the dream would leave him with nothing left to live for. This moment is powerful. Because it reminds us that some people choose to live with unfulfilled dreams not because they failed, but because they never truly tried. They choose comfort over courage. Stability over soul. Fear over faith. Santiago listens. Reflects. He's earned enough money now to return to Spain and buy even more sheep than before. Life has offered him a chance to return to the familiar, stronger than before. But he asks himself, is that all I want? He realizes that even though he's comfortable now, even though he could live a good life here, something deep inside would always be unfinished. He would always wonder about the treasure. He would always wonder who he might have become. And so, Santiago makes another brave choice. He decides to leave the crystal shop, say goodbye to the safety he's built, and continue his journey across the desert in search of the treasure. This moment, this decision, is one of the most symbolic in the entire book. Because so many people stop here. After recovering from a fall, after rebuilding their lives, after getting comfortable again, they settle. But the Alchemist tells us, don't stop in the middle. Just because you are no longer in pain doesn't mean you've reached your destination. Comfort is not always alignment. You may have outgrown the dream you once had, but that doesn't mean your new dream is any less valid. In fact, it's often the sign you're growing. Evolving. Getting closer. Santiago is no longer the naive boy who chased a treasure because of a dream. He's stronger now. Wiser. More grounded in reality and yet, more attuned to faith and possibility. He has learned how to observe people. How to read omens. How to adapt. And above all, he has learned how to choose purpose over safety. As he prepares to cross the desert toward the Egyptian pyramids, Santiago joins a caravan traveling eastward. Along the way, he meets an Englishman who's studying the ancient art of alchemy. The Englishman tells him about the philosopher's stone, the elixir of life, and the idea that true alchemists can turn lead into gold. But Santiago senses that these ideas, while fascinating, are more than just formulas. They're metaphors. The journey to transform base metals into gold is really the journey to transform the self. And that's exactly what Santiago is doing. By choosing to leave comfort behind again not once, but twice, he is transforming himself into someone capable of finding the treasure, whatever that treasure may be. In this part of the story, Paulo Coelho shares two profound truths. Temporary comfort can be the most dangerous trap. Every challenge we face is preparing us for something greater. Santiago could have stopped many times. But each time, he asked himself, is this who I truly want to become? And with that clarity, he takes the next step. Not because he's sure of what lies ahead, but because he knows that to stop now would mean giving up on himself. Part 3, The Crystal Merchant and the Meaning of Waiting. As Santiago continues his journey toward the Egyptian pyramids, we're invited to pause and reflect on one of the most symbolic characters in The Alchemist, the Crystal Merchant. Although Santiago has already moved on from the crystal shop, what he learns from the old merchant continues to echo through his heart and mind. The merchant, after all, wasn't just a background character. He was a reflection of what happens when we put dreams on hold for too long. Let's return to that time briefly, the moment when Santiago first stepped into the crystal shop, dusty and hungry, after being robbed in Tangier. The shop was quiet. Customers were rare. And the merchant? He had settled into a rhythm of survival. He ran his shop every day not out of joy, but out of habit. But when Santiago offered to clean the dusty glass for a small coin, things began to change. The boy's energy, curiosity, and bold ideas gradually breathed life into the store. Business picked up. Customers returned. And with them, the merchant started to dream again just a little. But when Santiago asked him why he'd never pursued his own dream, the dream of going to Mecca, the answer revealed something deep about the human spirit. The crystal merchant told Santiago that visiting Mecca had always been his life's goal. As a devout Muslim, the pilgrimage was not just a religious duty, it was a symbol of hope. Something to look forward to. Something that gave his life meaning. And yet, he'd never gone. Why? Because actually fulfilling the dream meant confronting the possibility that it might not live up to his expectations. What would he do afterward? What if he had nothing left to pursue? It was safer, he said, to live with the dream unfulfilled, to let it float in the distance like a mirage. A comfort. A reason to keep waking up, even if he never planned to act. This is a haunting truth, and one Coelho wants the reader to sit with. The crystal merchant represents the part of all of us that waits. That hesitates. That delays. We say, maybe next year, or when the time is right, or when I'm more ready. But years go by. And dreams, like fragile glass, begin to collect dust. The merchant also serves as a mirror for Santiago. In many ways, Santiago could have become him. After being robbed and finding work in the shop, Santiago had every excuse to give up on his personal legend. He had money again. Security. A routine. But he chose differently. And that's the difference between the dreamers who achieve something, and the dreamers who stay dreaming forever. It's not about luck. Or talent. It's about the courage to act before you feel ready. The lesson from the merchant's life is clear: waiting too long can turn dreams into regrets. In Santiago's journey, Coelho presents this challenge gently but powerfully. Will you be like the merchant, clinging to the idea of your dream, but never taking the risk to live it? Or will you be like Santiago, uncertain, scared, but moving anyway? The merchant respected Santiago's decision to continue his journey. In his heart, he may have even admired the boy. But he knew he would never do the same. As Santiago joins the caravan across the desert, he carries this lesson with him. He understands now that not everyone will pursue their personal legend. And that's okay. But he knows he must. Because dreams have a window. And if we ignore that window for too long, it closes. The desert caravan becomes another metaphor in Coelho's storytelling. As they move across the vast sands, Santiago listens, watches, learns. He realizes that life in the desert is all about attunement to silence, to signs, to change. The desert, like the pursuit of a dream, is unpredictable. Sandstorms come without warning. Camels die. The path is never straight. But those who survive are the ones who adapt, who observe, who trust their intuition. Santiago meets the Englishman during this journey, a man obsessed with the practice of alchemy. The Englishman speaks in terms of books, formulas, and intellectual pursuit. He's read deeply about the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. But Santiago notices something important: while the Englishman knows a lot, he doesn't really see. He's so focused on knowledge that he's missing the world around him. This contrast introduces a new idea: true wisdom doesn't come just from books. It comes from experience, intuition, and paying attention. The Englishman represents the mind, analytical, curious, searching. Santiago, on the other hand, is beginning to understand the heart. The omens. The language of the world. The deeper knowing that comes when we walk the path ourselves, not just read about it. By now, Santiago is changing. He's no longer the shepherd who doubted his dream. He's becoming someone who understands that everything, even pain, even setbacks, is part of the treasure. And this transformation isn't flashy. It's quiet. Internal. Like alchemy itself, the art of turning something ordinary into something divine. Part 4, The Journey Through the Desert. As Santiago moves forward with the caravan across the vast Sahara Desert, the rhythm of the journey begins to take shape. The caravan is made up of many travelers, merchants, pilgrims, tribesmen, all heading toward distant lands, each carrying their own story and purpose. But in the desert, all stories are stripped down. Here, there are no distractions, no buildings, no city sounds, only sand, silence, and space. At first, Santiago feels like an outsider. Everything is unfamiliar. The days are scorching, the nights freezing. The wind howls across dunes like a whisper from the universe, and time itself feels different in the desert. But slowly, something begins to shift inside him. He learns to observe, to listen, to trust in the quiet. In the absence of noise, Santiago starts to notice the subtle signs around him: omens. The way a camel reacts. The direction the wind turns. The patterns in the stars. The desert, in its emptiness, teaches him the deepest form of communication, the language of the world. It's a language without words. It's felt, not spoken. It's understood not by the mind, but by the heart. As days pass, Santiago becomes aware that the journey itself is as important as the treasure he seeks. The desert, with its unforgiving terrain and hidden wisdom, becomes his teacher. And one of the most valuable lessons he learns is this: the journey will always test your spirit before it rewards you. Nothing truly worth having comes easily. The caravan's leader, a wise and silent man, explains a powerful truth to Santiago: when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better, too. This echoes what the old king had said earlier, that the entire universe conspires to help you when you follow your personal legend. But now, Santiago understands this not just in theory, but in experience. He sees how the desert forces people to face themselves. Some give up. Some turn back. But those who stay, those who push on through the heat, the fear, the discomfort, are transformed. Just like the alchemist transforms lead into gold, the desert transforms the seeker into someone worthy of the treasure. It is here in the desert that Santiago deepens his friendship with the Englishman. The Englishman, still buried in his books, speaks endlessly about alchemy, especially about the soul of the world, the force that connects all things. He tells Santiago about the idea that all things were once one. That the world's greatest truths are hidden in simplicity. And that alchemy is not just about turning metal into gold, it's about spiritual transformation. Santiago listens, but he also sees the difference in how they both learn. The Englishman seeks answers in books. Santiago seeks answers in the wind. And both paths have value, but Santiago feels drawn more and more toward the spiritual, toward the signs, the intuition, the sacred silence of the journey. One night, while resting beside the glowing embers of a campfire, Santiago looks up at the stars and feels deeply connected to something bigger. He doesn't know how or why, only that he is exactly where he's meant to be. He realizes that even though he doesn't know what lies ahead, he's no longer afraid. Because he's no longer alone. The soul of the world is with him. Guiding him. Shaping him. Preparing him. Soon, the caravan stops at a desert oasis, a lush paradise in the middle of the dry emptiness. It's a temporary resting place, but it feels magical after the endless sands. And here, something extraordinary happens. Santiago meets Fatima. A young desert woman with eyes full of mystery and soul. The moment he sees her, he knows, this is love. Not the fleeting kind. Not a crush or a fantasy. But true love, the kind that feels like destiny. Fatima is quiet, graceful, wise beyond her years. She lives in the oasis and understands the desert's ways. In their brief meetings, she and Santiago exchange few words, but everything important is said in silence. Their connection is instant. Real. Eternal. And Santiago faces a new kind of decision, the choice between love and his dream. For the first time, he wonders if staying might be better than going. After all, isn't love the greatest treasure of all? But Fatima says something powerful. Something that reveals her own wisdom. Go and pursue your dream. I am a woman of the desert. I will wait for you. True love never holds you back. This moment defines a deep truth: real love does not demand sacrifice of your soul. It supports your growth. It believes in your journey. So Santiago is reassured. His dream and his love are not in conflict. They are aligned. One is part of the other. And this too, is part of the journey, learning that dreams may evolve, but they always lead you toward more of yourself. More of your truth. More of your soul. At the oasis, Santiago also meets the alchemist, a mysterious figure who can sense the boy's destiny and power. The alchemist tells Santiago that he has already found part of his treasure: knowledge, growth, love, and awareness. But the final part still lies ahead, across the desert, near the Egyptian pyramids. And the next leg of the journey will test Santiago more than ever before. Part 5, The Alchemist's Teachings. The desert has tested Santiago's patience, strength, and courage, but now, it tests his faith. At the oasis, he meets a man unlike any other he's encountered on this journey, a mysterious figure cloaked in black, whose presence commands silence and respect. This man is known simply as the Alchemist. The Alchemist is no ordinary teacher. He doesn't lecture. He doesn't preach. He speaks only when necessary, and when he does, his words strike deep. Like arrows straight into the soul. He sees something in Santiago. Not just a boy chasing treasure. But a soul in transformation. And so, he offers Santiago a challenge to go beyond knowledge and beyond fear. To live the truths he's learned. To become not just someone who seeks treasure, but someone who embodies it. Santiago agrees to travel with the alchemist across the remaining desert, all the way to the Egyptian pyramids. As they ride together on horseback, the alchemist begins to guide Santiago not with instructions, but with questions. He teaches Santiago about the soul of the world, the spiritual force that connects all living things. He says, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It is your mission on earth. This is what the Englishman spoke of, but here, in the presence of the alchemist, Santiago doesn't just hear it. He begins to feel it. The alchemist also explains something even deeper: the journey isn't about finding something external. It's about awakening what already exists within. He says, listen to your heart. It knows all things, because it came from the soul of the world. At first, Santiago resists. His heart is restless. It fears pain. It worries about losing Fatima. It doubts the future. But the alchemist tells him, your heart is afraid of suffering. Teach it that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. And so, Santiago begins to do something rare in our noisy world. He listens. He learns that when he quiets the mind and opens the heart, the world speaks. Not in words, but in wind, in signs, in feelings, and this is the language of the world. One evening, as they camp under the stars, Santiago asks the alchemist, why do we have to listen to our hearts if they're so fearful? And the alchemist replies, because wherever your heart is, that is where you'll find your treasure. These are not just poetic words. They're instructions for living. Too often, people silence their hearts in favor of logic, fear, or comfort. But the alchemist insists, the heart is the map. And Santiago begins to trust his. Soon, danger arrives. As they cross deeper into the desert, they're captured by a tribal war party. Santiago is seen as a spy, and the alchemist offers to bargain for his life. He tells the soldiers that Santiago is no spy, he is an alchemist. And in 3 days, he will prove it by turning himself into the wind. This seems impossible. Even Santiago is stunned. But the alchemist remains calm and tells him, "You already know how to do it. You just need to remember." In these 3 days, Santiago faces his greatest test. Not of strength. Not of knowledge. But of belief. Can he truly become one with the universe? Can he become the wind? On the 3rd day, Santiago climbs a cliff, stands before the tribal leaders, and opens his soul. He speaks to the desert, to the wind, to the sun, and finally, to the soul of the world. And then, it happens. The desert stirs. The wind rises. And suddenly, Santiago disappears into a swirling gust of sand, a miracle witnessed by warriors who know they've seen something divine. He has done it. Not through magic, but through faith, alignment, and transcendence. This is the moment Santiago becomes one with the world. And the message is clear: when you become one with your purpose, the universe moves through you. It's no longer about the treasure. It's about becoming the kind of person who can receive it. The tribal leaders let them go, in awe. The alchemist then takes Santiago to a monastery, where he demonstrates the final act of alchemy, turning lead into gold. He leaves some gold with the monks, gives some to Santiago, and reminds him of what matters most. And with that, the alchemist leaves his mission complete. But before parting, he tells Santiago one last truth: remember that wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. You have come so far, and the hardest part is over. But the real discovery is always made alone. Santiago is now alone again, but not afraid. He is not the shepherd boy who left Spain. He is not the broken traveler who cleaned crystal for coins. He is not the student who sat in the caravan watching stars. He is something more. He is one with the world. He rides onto the pyramids, ready to find the final clue to his treasure wherever it may lead. Part 6, The Treasure Within. After an extraordinary journey across deserts, through love, fear, transformation, and mystery, Santiago finally arrives at the place he had seen in his recurring dream, the majestic pyramids of Egypt. The golden sand stretches endlessly, and the pyramids rise like ancient monuments of time itself. Santiago falls to his knees, tears running down his face, not just because he made it, but because the journey has changed him so profoundly. He gazes at the pyramids with reverence. They stand before him not just as symbols of ancient civilizations, but as guardians of his dream, of the treasure he's been chasing across continents. At that moment, something stirs beneath the sand. Santiago begins to dig. Hour after hour, he digs with his bare hands, believing that the treasure lies beneath him, just as his dream had promised. His hands blister, the sun beats down, and exhaustion sets in. But his heart is filled with hope. And then, just as he begins to lose strength, a group of strangers approaches. They are thieves. They beat him, take the gold the alchemist had given him, and leave him broken in the sand. One of the thieves laughs and says, "You're such a fool. I had the same kind of dream once about a treasure buried beneath a sycamore tree in an abandoned church in Spain." And just like that, they vanish into the desert, unaware of what they've just revealed. Santiago lies there, bloodied and bruised but smiling. Because in that moment, he understands. The treasure is not here in Egypt. It was always back in Spain, beneath that very tree where he once had his dream, where he had slept with his sheep on a quiet night so long ago. This revelation would break most people. Imagine spending all that time, enduring all that pain, only to discover that what you were seeking had been at home all along. But Santiago is not broken. Because now, he understands the real secret. It was never just about the gold. It was about the journey. The transformation. The signs, the omens, the crystal shop, the love of Fatima, the lessons of the alchemist, the language of the world. Every single step had been necessary to awaken him. To prepare him. To turn him into the kind of person who could truly receive the treasure. This is one of the most profound truths in The Alchemist. Sometimes, life takes us far away just to bring us home again, wiser, deeper, and more awake. So Santiago returns to Spain. He walks once again through familiar landscapes, but nothing feels the same. Because he is not the same. He finds the ruined church where he had once slept as a shepherd. The sycamore tree is still there, rising through the stone floor. And he begins to dig. This time, with patience. With purpose. And then he finds it. An actual chest filled with gold, jewels, and ancient coins. A real treasure. But even as he stares at its brilliance, Santiago understands, the real treasure isn't what lies in the chest. It's what lies within him. Because along the way, he found things far more valuable. The strength to choose growth over comfort. The courage to keep going despite fear and failure. The love of a woman who believes in his destiny. And the wisdom to listen to the voice of the world, and more importantly, the voice within. The journey didn't just lead him to treasure, it turned him into treasure. As he looks to the horizon, Santiago smiles and whispers, "I'm coming, Fatima." Because now, he has everything. The treasure, the love, the truth. And most importantly, he has fulfilled his personal legend. The Alchemist ends not with a loud triumph, but with a quiet truth that echoes in the soul. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. But you must be willing to listen. To follow the signs. To endure the trials. To leave comfort behind. To believe. And in doing so, you may just discover, as Santiago did, that what you've been searching for has always been within you. That is the gold no one can steal. And that brings us to the end of The Alchemist, a tale that, on the surface, is about a boy chasing treasure. But at its heart, it's a story about you. It's about that dream you carry. That inner whisper that says, you were meant for something more. That restless feeling that refuses to be silenced. Through Santiago's journey, we learn that the path to our destiny isn't straight or easy. It's filled with doubt, detours, heartbreak, and uncertainty. But it's also filled with magic. With signs. With people who appear just when we need them. And moments of clarity that remind us we're not alone in this journey. The universe is always speaking to us. We just have to listen. The Alchemist teaches us that the treasure we seek often lies not at the destination, but in the becoming. In the transformation that happens along the way. In the courage it takes to leave comfort behind. In the love we discover, the faith we build, and the strength we uncover. So wherever you are in your journey right now, whether you're just beginning, lost in the desert, or standing before your own pyramid, remember this. Follow your personal legend. Trust your heart. And never stop believing that the world will rise to meet your dream. Thank you for listening to this audiobook-style summary of The Alchemist here on Books Arena. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect, do like, share, and subscribe for more powerful book journeys like this one. And as always, keep turning pages, keep chasing dreams, and remember, the treasure is already within you. Until next time. This is Books Arena.